To my weekly live stream every Sunday, 7 p.m. UK time. Lately, I've been having my Jewish friend David and I'm a Muslim versus Jew discussion on different important issues of our time. Right now, he's not available, so ChatGPT stepped in. So we're going to start with this video, and then I'll call ChatGPT to disagree with me and trying to find logical faults in my argument. Today, we're talking about does the act of chasing dreams deny us happiness, or do we ever find happiness if we're always chasing dreams? And there is a real struggle that I face in what this guy, he's a comedian, Jimmy Carr, has got to say. So I see where he's coming from, but I think there are some fundamental flaws in his logic. Let's listen to what he's got to say.
Life is what happens while we're making other plans. Oh, once I've got this done, once I get my degree, then life will begin. I've just got to pass these exams and get to that thing and buy that house, and then I've just got to pay this off, and then we can start.
It's a very instrumental view of life, that everything is done in order to achieve the next thing. So at no point do you actually arrive. It's a great question. When are you going to arrive? Tell me when you're going to arrive at life. When are you going to feel like you've actually got there?
Depression and anxiety, which I would rather call sadness and worry, but it's very serious for some people, right? And depression is always about the past, and anxiety is about the future. The more you can just be in the moment, you're sort of all right. You're sort of okay, today, enjoying this bit. I'm such a fanboy of the show, but the 2D and 3D lessons. It's so true in terms of you can't say to a young person the material possessions, they're not going to bring you happiness, because actually, they kind of will. Having the watch won't make you happy. Getting it is fun. Having stuff isn't fun. Getting stuff is fun. The journey is so fun. And it's partly the dopamine, the thrill of the acquisition, but the stuff that gives you pleasure long term, it's feelings.
Yeah.
Life is...
Okay, so we've listened to him make a couple of interesting points. I've reduced it to 5 interesting comments he's made, and I'm going to talk about that. Let's get ChatGPT on. So replace sharing. Where are you, ChatGPT? Here you are. Okay, so this ChatGPT, that's how ChatGPT looks like, breathing or something. And let's get started. So hi, ChatGPT. As usual, or as I explained to you off screen, I want you to just give 1-minute answers or short answers and find faults. When I say answers, find faults in what I've got to say. So the main point that Jimmy Carr was saying is that the act of chasing dreams means we're basically always unhappy. So his first statement was something along the lines of, we miss out on life while making plans. And as I said in the introduction, I can agree with what he said in the sense that I've been suffering from this for a lot of my life. I'm always chasing things, but it's not the act of chasing things that makes us miserable. It's about chasing the wrong things. And I'm going to I always try to give the short answer to the whole show immediately, and it goes something like this. It's been shown by psychologists throughout time, but many people don't know what psychologists are saying, and that is that material things, just having more and more stuff, and even including things like becoming more and more important, those things don't make you happy. Meaningful things make you happy. So there's a very famous not famous psychologist, well, most people don't know him, but monk psychologist. He's on the level of Freud. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he basically said happiness comes from doing meaningful things, not just having stuff. And meaningful, according to him, means doing something higher than yourself, not about yourself, but being of service, basically, doing something responsible. So I will try to summarize my point of view as a Muslim. I will quote the Quran or paraphrase to make it really quickly, but it's so beautiful. It's nice to read it. Do check out the description where there's a link there's a link to the document I'm reading and all the references, and it goes something like this from the Quran. And as to those who disbelieve, their deeds are like a mirage in a desert. The thirsty one thinks it to be water until when he comes up to it, he finds it to be nothing and finds Allah near him who fully pays him his account. So the idea is that material things or non-godly things, to be specific, because he didn't say material in the Quran, non-godly things, so when you're running away from God, right? What happens is it's always like a mirage, and a mirage is a beautiful description of an illusion that disappears when you reach it. And I think ChatGPT is going to jump in now. What have you got to say?
So you're saying the chase for material things or non-godly things leads to misery, and it's the wrong kind of chase. But is it possible that some material things, like financial stability or a healthy lifestyle, could contribute to happiness? I get that Viktor Frankl and the Quran suggest a deeper sense of fulfillment, but does that mean all pursuit of personal goals is inherently flawed? Could there be a middle ground where ambition doesn't have to be entirely dismissed, as long as it's balanced with meaning and purpose?
I think you made a fantastic point. And so let me try to understand your point. Your point is goals, not all goals are bad. And actually, some goals are meaningful. And that's actually what I said. So you need to find meaningful goals. And those meaningful goals can include making money. So when you're making money to provide for your family, and I would say in many ways, business is a sustainable way of making the world a better place. So you should provide a valuable service that you get paid for so you can do it more, right? And the fact that you're getting paid, this isn't always true, but the fact that you're getting paid is evidence that your service is valuable. So I totally agree. As you call it, the middle ground is that it's not that goals are bad. It's just that you have to choose the right goals and then you'll be happy. Is that what you're saying? And have I answered your point?
Yes, that's exactly it. It's not the pursuit of goals that's the issue, but rather which goals you set. If your goals align with values like service, family, or contributing to something greater than yourself, then they can definitely be fulfilling. But do you think it's easy for people to distinguish between meaningful goals and ones driven purely by ego or societal pressure? Could the pursuit of something seemingly meaningful sometimes still lead to dissatisfaction, even if it's framed as a good goal?
So it's possible that you lie to yourself. You can say, here's a meaningful goal where I'm trying to help people, but actually you're trying to just feel important or something. So in Islam, it's all about your intention that makes all the difference. So only you can judge your intention. It's not for other people to judge that because they can't really know. So I agree that it's possible that so-called meaningful goals might not be so meaningful. And that's really a question of, what we call in Islam taqwa, means the sort of a God awareness or fear of God, or knowing, questioning yourself, why are you doing it? Like every little thing, why are you truly doing it? Is it to be important, or is it in the path of God? And the path of God simply is doing good things. That's all God wants from you. So you can respond to that if you want, ChatGPT. Maybe you don't have anything to say, that's fine. So I kind of feel like there might be something missing in this to add to. It says, we miss out on life while making plans. It's certainly true that if you are making plans to feel more important, you will never be happy. You'll be on this well-known thing called the hedonic treadmill. And this is what the Quran describes. It's like you're always on the chase, hoping for fulfillment, to have your thirst quenched of self acceptance in many ways, and that's the struggle and the endless struggle that a disbeliever has. And you might be saying, what evidence is there that believers don't struggle from this? Well, I would say there's a reason why so many people are becoming Muslim, because they're finding that the usual materialistic lifestyle is not meaningful, it doesn't make them happy, and there's all sorts of correlations, not just with Islam, but correlation with being godly and being happy. For example, there's studies showing that in England, the more the more godless or atheistic the society becomes, or sorry, let me correct that. As congregations in churches have decreased, so has depression increased. So basically, all religious values are geared towards human needs, core human needs like being connected together. So if you go to a church regularly, you're going to feel more connected. If you're going to hear really good ideas about how just having more stuff is not the end of the whole point of life, and there is meaning to life, and meaning gives us happiness, right? So all these things that spirituality or religion has always provided, these are things that make you happy. So there's plenty of evidence to say the religious thing, godly things are the things that make us happy. And there's plenty of evidence, as people like Johann Hari, and I've got his videos and stuff in the description, as I mentioned before, so do check it out. He talks about things like junk values. He's a gay atheist, right? And he's talking about these things called junk values, which are basically materialistic values. So how do I summarize it all? It's clear that spiritual values are things that make us happy, and those are things that we should chase. And the chase is very different. It's like in Islam, you're asked to simply, if you've got a seed in your hand and you've got in your last breath, plant that seed. You can be happy right now. They're not like huge, big goals. In fact, you're supposed to believe that you might not last until the next day. So you just keep doing good things for the next day. You might aim for big goals, but you never know if you're going to fully achieve them. Your job is to simply aim towards them and make things better every day. That's all. I think ChatGPT doesn't have much to say to this. It's very interesting. ChatGPT, if you are having trouble disagreeing with me, you can summarize some of my points and agree with me, I suppose, because disagreeing doesn't seem to be working very well today. So, as I was saying, just to summarize my point, I totally get the sentiment and the experience that many of us, including myself, even now to some extent, have a feeling of we're constantly chasing stuff. Even if we produce really good goals, I mean, not produce goals, I've goal to make an app that should help the world communicate with computers better, right? But inside that goal is the wish to become a millionaire or even a billionaire. So this kind of mix of things can cause some anxiety and stress, right? So, and I have to reduce that need to be a millionaire or billionaire or whatever, or really famous and all that kind of stuff, and try to focus more on the simple act of making the world a better place as much as I can through that app. And if I have the right balance, then I won't struggle and I won't miss out on life, right? But you totally experience life by being religious, because in a religious all religious teachings are kind of being in the now. Like, how can you sacrifice now? You don't even know if you're going to live till tomorrow or 2 days afterwards, right? These are religious teachings. It's kind of there are sayings of Prophet Muhammad who said that if you wake up in the morning, don't expect to live till the evening. If you go to sleep in the evening, don't expect to wake up in the morning. So life is considered very transitory, and especially just try to do what you can right now. But if you keep doing what you can right now, you can build a beautiful future together. So that's kind of my sort of answer to part one. We miss out on life while making plans. No, if you make good plans and you don't depend on those plans being successful, but you're simply working towards them and being a good person and doing good things, you'll be happy every day, all the time, right now. But if you have self-centered plans, yes, you'll definitely suffer from this thing of never actually being happy. And the reason why you'll never be happy is because you'll never be satisfied with the empty goals in your life, right? You'll be like, you'll never be happy, therefore you have to chase something else that's far in the distance. And even when you get that, you'll realize those are empty materialistic goals. So part two, depression. Jimmy Carr made an interesting comment. So depression is just sadness about the past. I think there's something really wrong with that, right? Because there's a reason, I guess, why there's a word called depression. And depression is this feeling that you can't quite put your finger on why you're unhappy. It's like a constant and very powerful feeling. I've had depression in the past, right? And so just to call it sadness, although there's some truth in it, but I think it's deeper than that, because sometimes it's right to be sad. Maybe somebody died and things like that. Is that depression? No, we know that's not depression. Depression is often when you can't put your finger on what's wrong and there's a constant feeling. You just wake up and you don't know why you're depressed. And it's something to do with not feeling excited about the future, right? Because it hasn't worked out so well. So you got evidence and reason to be depressed. And that's another point I want to make, that it's not just because you can't put your finger on a problem, there is no problem. There's definitely a problem. In fact, I love the stuff that Johan Hari has said. And as I said before, there's links to his brilliant videos and stuff in the description through my summary document. He said, depression is a signal that something is wrong. Absolutely. There are always biological feedbacks. You know, when you cut yourself, you feel pain, and your body is saying, you've got to fix this, make it stop bleeding. In the same way, when you've got, call it psychological, I call it spiritual problems, your body aches in more than your body, your body, your soul aches, whatever you want to call it. You ache somewhere more than often physical pains, right? So there are always different forms of feedback. Your body is always telling you if you're doing something wrong and if you're doing something right. That's why there's pain and pleasure, to give you ideas of what's happening when you're doing something good. And so depression is about something deep, I would say. It's not just sadness, because there are just reasons for sadness. Depression is when you can't quite figure it out. But the more spiritually aware you become, the more you understand there is a good reason for your depression. There is a signal telling you something, okay? And if you question what you're doing in your life, then with the lens of, am I doing something meaningful? And then test your life. Like, am I doing meaningful things in my life? Am I just doing things just to make myself happy and important? Like, some people might say, well, I need to make myself happy, so I'm not going to get depressed. Actually, it's the other way around. You need to serve people, but in a balanced way, in a measured way that you can manage. Don't go over the top, okay? Because then you have a burnout as well. Islam teaches you that, well, there's a saying of Prophet Muhammad who said that God likes things that are done regularly, even if small. So just do what you can consistently. You don't have to show off to the world that you're a saint or something. As soon as you start showing off to the world, that in itself will make you miserable and take away from the meaning of what you're doing. So if you, so as I say, depression has a reason, and depression is basically meaningless and emptiness in your life. And the way you can overcome that is to keep doing good things regularly, because when you do things regularly, your conscience, and this is something Freud and people like Viktor Frankl have talked about, these are real things that you can't control. You can't lie to. You can't lie to yourself. So if you do something consistently, then your conscience knows, yeah, this guy is a good guy. This guy is not a one-off showing off to the world how great I am and then, running away and doing his bad stuff, right? He's every day doing small things that can't even be shown off about. So that's the beauty of doing small things, right? You will feel more and more complete and less empty and less depressed if you work on it now, right? And sometimes you damage yourself, like I think I have in the past, by being depressed for a long time. So it might not be solved immediately. It's like you know, a major physical ailment. You can't, like, you lose a finger or a hand or something, it's going to take a while to rehabilitate. So, but you will find, I'm quite sure, as I did, the more good things you do and less selfless things you do, and the more this is I suffered depression when I was kind of at university or something, when I was in a desperate need to make it somehow. Okay. If you realize you don't really have to make it, you just have to do good things, and you're not going to be dead tomorrow, right? Don't overestimate how many things you need to be happy. So just keep working on the things you have. Try to be grateful for the things you have, and therefore you will start enjoying the now. So I think there's a really good point Jimmy Carr makes in this video about enjoying the now. You can enjoy the now if you're not scared of poverty. This is another thing the Quran talks about, that Satan makes you fear poverty. And on the other hand, you should also be doing meaningful things so you're constantly feeling good about the now. So that's my comment about depression is just sadness about the past. No, if there's something wrong in the past, then your body's reacting and telling you about it, and it's good to learn from the past. What have you got to say, ChatGPT? Anything?
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Our systems are experiencing heavy load. Please try again later.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get to the next point. Anxiety is just worrying about the future. So anxiety is definitely about the future, I would say, and it is about worrying about the future, but it's not just that, because that's not understanding really the cause. We're not like stupid people that just worry for no reason. Okay, anxiety is usually a kind of stress that we feel that is out of our control. We're constantly feeling and we don't want to feel it. So we're not stupid that we just make ourselves anxious. You kind of have to dig deep and try to find the root cause why we cause ourselves so much suffering. And as I said, is already summarized in this beautiful verse of the Quran, that anxiety is very much like a thirsty person in the desert who is desperately wanting not to be thirsty, and so they're chasing these things that they think will quench their thirst. So basically, anxiety is, let's call it, spiritual bankruptcy or emptiness or thirst. You are not feeling complete because your goals in life, the way you live your life is lacking meaning and otherness, doing things for other people. So the more you think it's by when you feel this pain of emptiness and not feeling good enough, you think, oh, if only I had more stuff, then I could show other people that I am good enough. Dr. Gabor, what's his Mate Gabor? He said it beautifully in many ways. He said that a lot of the time we're just trying to, he said it in an amazing way, something like, we're trying to feel accepted. We're trying to buy acceptance from other people. We spend our whole lives doing that. That's what success is, trying to find acceptance. And so that is the Western idea of success, unfortunately, but it's not always the idea of success. Like over here, people feel successful just by doing little things for other people, and that's the way to feel successful every day. Do you really want success to be such a hard thing that you'll only be successful in 10 years and then finally you'll be happy? Is that really a good way? You might not last 10 years, right? But then you say, well, I have to choose a really big, huge goal so I can have loads of money, and therefore I will be successful and happy for a long time or something. And I'm not saying don't have big goals. Like, I've got big goals and I'm already working on them, and I work on them every day. And the goals are things like making this app that allows me to communicate with computers without buttons and things. And there's another app that will eventually give one-to-one teaching to everybody in the world for almost no money, that kind of thing, right? So big, meaningful goals. But even those meaningful goals can be detrimental if I focus more on the money rather than just being of service, right? And so my point is, I make big goals, but I don't let those big goals control me or destroy my happiness. In fact, I try to enjoy the process. That's not entirely true, right? I do suffer from this. Like, now I'm almost completing my first big app, let's say. That's not even true. But anyway, I'm reaching this thing. There's this itching feeling like, oh, why haven't I finished it yesterday, right? Even though I've been working on it 2 years and I've kind of managed to control that feeling. But as I'm getting close to the end, it's like, oh, why haven't it done this? It's not logical, right? I'm just getting there. Just wait for a few weeks, right? But that feeling always comes when you've got selfishness inside yourself, and you're trying to achieve something that's not about making the world a better place, but dominating other people, becoming better than everybody else, or becoming important, or getting lots of stuff, right? So I try not to be controlled by things and realize how incredibly rich I already am. We are all incredibly rich already. If you just count the air that we have, the eyes that we have, and all the things, how much would you trade one eye for? Would you give $1 billion for £1 billion? No, you only give $1 trillion. So maybe one eye is worth $1 trillion. So you're pretty rich if you think about it that way, right? So, but it's easy. You have to have mechanisms or systems to combat the constant feeling that makes you feel poor. And one of the oldest ways that we know, right? And Prophet Muhammad put it in his own particular way. He said, the best way to not disrespect the blessings of God. So you've got all these gods and we actively disrespect them. The best way to not disrespect them is to look at people who've got less than you, not the people who got more than you. So he also said that because that's our habit. Our habit is to make ourselves feel bad by looking at people with more stuff than you. Why would you do that? Why would you make your life miserable by doing that? Why not try the opposite and look at people who have less than you? You know what? Since ChatGPT is not really working, I was going to switch ChatGPT off. There we go. See you, ChatGPT. And I'm going to put something else useful, which is my notes that you can check out. And let's make it big. And let's put it on that side for some reason. Okay. It's a Google Doc that's linked below in the description of the YouTube video that you're watching. So we've talked about number 3, anxiety is just worrying about the future. No, some worrying is justified, and anxiety is not just worrying. It's a signal, as Johann Hari puts, to something that's not right. And we have to find out what that something is. And as I say, it's simply spiritual emptiness, not being spiritual. And being spiritual means recognizing there's a God. There's no spirituality without there being a God. We could talk about that as well if you want. But it doesn't really mean anything. When you start saying spirituality without God, it stops meaning things. In fact, everything is meaningless without God. And that's a whole very important discussion that's been recognized by psychologists like Viktor Frankl. Okay, if everything is random, then you can't say there's meaning. Basically, that's the short argument. And why would I say everything is random? Well, if you're an atheist, you basically believe everything is random. You weren't made by design, but by accident. Anyway, so let's move on to another point. By the way, if there are, you are free to ask questions and even join me on the video. Let me just put a link in the live chat. So there you go. If you want to talk to me right now, disagree with anything I've got to say, feel free, Anyway, so let's move on to the next point. You can only be happy if you enjoy the now. Why? Let's make this more easy to follow. So I'll click on that. So right now I'm talking about you can only be happy if you enjoy the now. That's what Jimmy Carr said in his video in the beginning that we're reacting to. Okay, and is it true? I'm not sure. What did I say for number 4? No, you can't only find happiness in the now. Okay, so why didn't I say that? So Viktor Frankl, he says that actually happiness comes from aiming for high things, for meaningful things. So actually just trying to enjoy the now, buying stuff, whatever, doing meaningless things will definitely not make you happy. In fact, it'll make you more depressed. You actually need to work towards big goals, but they're only meaningful if you have a big goal, let's say trying to help millions of people, would you get depressed that you haven't helped all millions of you, but you haven't helped? So to say your goal is to help 1 million people in say 10 years. So take 10 years to do this. And then today you only have helped one person. Would you feel depressed if that was your current outlook in life? No, you wouldn't. You see, you only get depressed as soon as you throw in another thing, which is selfishness into the mix, right? So it's like, I want to help 1 million people and I want to be famous for doing it. And right now, nobody cares what I'm doing. Then you start feeling depressed, and then you start feeling, I wish all millions of people recognize me right now. And that's the reason why we want to achieve our goals in one day, right? Even though we know it should take 10 years, right? So, but if our goals are pure, then we don't suffer from this. And then we actually enjoy the now, because you will enjoy helping that one person that day. It will be plenty. There's a beautiful saying or quote from the Quran, which actually quotes the Bible. It says, if you save the life of one person, it's like saving all of humanity. How beautiful is that? I love it. Just saying that. Okay. So it just reminds you that the little things are important. Saving one person is important. One view on this video is important, right? So maybe that one person will kind of take away 1 minute of what I've got to say, and their life becomes a bit better, and they keep going in that direction. And you never know how much better it will have in the long run. How much improvement to that person's life it will have in the long term. You just don't know, but you can hope, right? So that's good enough for a religious person, that we did our bit and hopefully we made a difference. Okay. And even if you make a difference in the short term, for a little bit, great. The Quran, or saying Prophet Muhammad is, he says like, sow a seed for a fruit tree. So once you passed away, birds can eat from it. I feel like tearing up just by hearing that. How beautiful is that? All you have to do is sow a seed. And if you're, when I say tearing up, not tearing up stuff like crying, basically, I should say. It's so beautiful that just sowing a seed can give so much meaning, and it's so beautiful. Like Prophet Muhammad also said that there was a prostitute who took her slipper off, and she saw a thirsty dog and she was near a well. So she took her slipper off, and she, the slipper must have been important to her. Maybe she's very, caring about her appearance, right? So she's putting this slipper and she puts it down a well to bring up some water and gives it to the dog to enjoy the water. And she went to heaven, according to Prophet Muhammad. How beautiful are these small things? Okay. And I'm sure she felt amazing by it, right? By doing this little thing that nobody else could see, right? So happiness is right there in front of you if you just do good things. Why am I doing these live streams? I don't really care about getting views and stuff. I'm just trying to help humanity, and then I'll feel good for it, and that's it, right? And then I'll do something else next week, and I'm doing it consistently. And this isn't the best live stream. This is not the most professional live stream. I do make an effort. You can see there's these little documents I provide to give myself notes and reminders about what my arguments are for the stuff. It's not the best, right? But it's good enough. I'm sure it helps somebody. Okay. It actually helps me as well, right? To become a better person, things I forget that I have to revise, right? Teaching happiness is a way of maintaining happiness. A really famous happiness teacher from Stanford University said, right? You have to keep it in your prefrontal cortex, that you have to keep using it to be aware of it, to reuse it. Okay. So, what was that question? You cannot be happy unless you're just enjoying the now. No, you have to have good goals so that you enjoy the now every day. If you simply do it the other way around and ignore the future and ignore the past, like the so-called Buddhist way of thinking, which is not the real way. Buddhism has been hijacked by Westerners and with false teachings. Okay, I've talked to Buddhist monks and whatever. It's basically what you see as Buddhism is not real Buddhism at the moment. So anyway, the point is that happiness is not from enjoying the now. It's actually a byproduct of having meaningful goals and being pure in that journey. Don't mix it up with other goals. So otherwise, then, as both the Bible and the Quran says, if you have many masters, well, the Bible says something like, what does it say? A man cannot have many masters or two masters or something like that. Basically, you'll be stretched in different ways and you'll never be happy, right? If you've got different masters. And so the Quran says something like that he says, how can a man or a slave, to be more accurate, who has one master be like this, a slave with many masters who pull you in different directions? How can they be the same? No. Every human being is a slave to the elements. We need food, we need stuff. We're actually always, we don't have a choice. We are slaves to God. So if we are slaves to the true master, rather than be making our slaves to every random person by saying, I need 1 million views, therefore you become a slave to all 1 million people until they give you their views, you see, right? So we make ourselves slaves to so many random people all the time, but we are better off if we simply make ourselves slave to the true master, that is God, and then our lives become really simple because we know exactly what we have to do. We don't confuse ourselves, and we always do meaningful things because God only wants you to do meaningful things. And then, as a byproduct of that, you will be happy every single day because the things God requires of you are possible to be done every single day. You just have to do a good thing every single day, a little good thing every day. Even if you aim for big things, like I said, I'm aiming for big things, but my aim is just to do something good every single day. For example, my app, I just put my app for free online every day, the next stage of it, right? And so people can benefit from it, right? Eventually, they're going to start paying for it, a little bit of money, right? But hopefully, but even if nobody pays for it, I would have done something good for humanity, and I'm living. God is always giving me money for, through my other work as a teacher, right? So anyway, what else is there to say? Meaningful goals. Yep. Anyways, and the last point, let's wind this up. Is there anything to say? Nobody's got any comments in the live chat? Nope. Okay. So the last point is having stuff doesn't make you happy. The journey of getting it makes you happy. So I don't like to say these things are completely wrong. In fact, when I first listened to things from Jimmy Carr, they sound so good. I go, yeah, that's about right. Because there is truth in there. And the truth is that if you've got a meaningful goal, then that journey is really enjoyable. But if you've got a meaningful goal and you achieve it, that's also good. But actually, it's true that there's only a certain amount of happiness you can gain from achieving the meaningful goal. Even if you help 1 million people, you get used to helping 1 million people, right? And you go, okay, right, okay, let's move on to the next thing. I can't just kind of go, oh, great, for the rest of my life, I helped 1 million people. That's fantastic, but it's not the way human beings are made. We have to keep doing more and more to be happy, because that's actually the whole point of life, that to keep growing spiritually. And God doesn't let you just relax and do nothing. So that's the kind of way we're built as human beings, that we need to keep serving people, and if we don't serve people, then we suffer. But it's not true that you can go on any journey and find happiness. You can't go on a journey to be the biggest drug dealer in the world and be happy, because it's not meaningful. You would torture yourself every day on that journey, because you'd have to do endless bad things. You would have to distribute tons of cocaine, knowing that that cocaine is going to ruin loads of people's lives. So it won't make you happy. So these are overly simplistic ideas from Jimmy Carr, but there's some truth in it. And so I've kind of made all the points already. That's why these answers are getting shorter and shorter. But let me summarize now the main point, the answer to all these questions I gave right at the beginning. And it's this beautiful verse of the Quran, which basically says, as to those who disbelieve, and again, disbelieve, you actively have to disbelieve in God, because the obvious thing is that God must exist. We don't have any experience of anything remotely complicated that came about by any form of accident. Everything that was made that you know of, okay, was made with intelligence. Therefore, you must have been made with intelligence. And atheists try to make it all complicated by saying you are being, I think the word is anthropomorphic, whatever. It means like seeing things from like a human point of view, basically. You're a human being, you're going to see things from a human point of view. Don't be silly, right? The evidence is, everything you've seen that has any level of complication or whatever, that was made by intelligence. You can check it up, right? So from your experience, anything like yourself must also have been made through some level of intelligence. So you have to actively disbelieve, run away from the truth. And when you run away from the truth, then you have only one other direction, which is towards falsehood, false things, material, empty goals, right? So let's just put the right thing on the screen. Copy. This is what we're talking about. We're summarizing. Maybe I should put this or maybe I should put this thing that's even better. This verse of the Quran. So paste that and stick it on the screen. I wonder how much of it will show. But yeah, so if you choose to run from God's guidance, who just wants to make you be beautiful and do good things, then you've only got one direction. That's emptiness, false goals. To show what kind of person runs from truth? Somebody who's got a huge ego. So you're just going to have egotistical goals, okay? And those just egotistical goals will. And I suffer from this regularly, right? I'm constantly working on this problem, right? Okay, of trying to tell myself, my ego, God is great, not me. So I don't need to be important. And that's a way of freeing yourself from being important, right? The ego. And so if you follow or chase egotistical goals, it'll be just like chasing a mirage, beautifully put in this verse of the Quran, okay? So what is a mirage? As I said in the beginning, it's an illusion, but a special kind of illusion, exactly telling you the problems with materialistic goals. They look great from a distance, just like a mirage. People don't know what a mirage is. Basically, it's an illusion of water. It looks like water in a desert or hot place, okay? You can see easily when you're driving along a hot tarmac road, you will see it looks kind of watery in the distance. And if you're thirsty, that water looks amazing, right? So A materialistic person is always chasing and always feeling empty and always thirsty for something that's missing. And so that person feels like, oh, I wish I had that goal, that materialistic goal that I've created in my mind. And that's the mirage that they chase. And when they finally achieve it, the thirsty one thinks it to be water until he finally comes up to it. He finds it to be nothing. That's how it feels, nothing. And he finds Allah near him, so he becomes aware of God at that point in time, right? And sort of awareness of the emptiness of his goals, and then there is a self-punishment he receives for chasing this empty nothingness goal of his. Okay, so that's what I've got to say. Hope you found that a little bit useful. I constantly revise these ideas in my head, so hopefully I found it useful. Cool. Have a nice time. Catch you next week.